All right. Well, good morning to everybody, and we're ready to jump into our chapter 7, Hebrew adjectives. I know every language will incorporate adjectives into their grammar because adjectives will describe, modify, characterize, classify the word they're modifying, and they give us additional information about it. And uh, but oftentimes, though, adjectives will do even much more than that. When we think about Psalm 11 and verse 7, for the Lord is righteous, he loves righteous deed. The word righteous, sadiq, is an adjective. And here it's being used in a predicate. And we're going to talk about this in our class in a minute, in a predicate. And so, for the Lord is righteous, he loves righteous deeds. So it's in this one sentence is being used both as a predicate as the Lord is righteous and he loves righteous deeds, uh, and adjectively or attributively talking about the deeds or being righteous. So, Sadiq is an adjective meaning righteous, just, or in the right. Hebrew adjectives can describe people, can describe actions, can describe abstract qualities. It does here for the Lord is righteous. It's not just talking about God's character, but it really defines who he is. It's his very essence. It's his being. The Lord is righteous. And so the very significance here is that righteous in English sort of is a moral label. We basically, one is righteous, one is not, is a moral label of their relationship. In Hebrew, Sadiq emphasizes conformity to the standard, to God's standard, as God always acts in line with his covenant, with his promises, with his justice. And so the psalmist calls God Sadiq. He's not giving some sort of attribute of characteristics of him that he's righteous, but declaring that God's actions are always right according to his own covenantal standard. And so this adjective theologically tells us something very profound about who God is. God's righteousness is not arbitrary, but it's reliable. He will not betray his own standard. He cannot. He cannot abandon his covenant. And why that's why the psalmist concludes with the upright shall behold his face in Psalm 11, verse 7, the second half of that. So if God is righteous, his people can trust that his justice and his promise will always hold true. And so when we feel like the world is unstable, and it is, and the world is unfair, and it is, we need to remember that the Lord is righteous. And that adjective is not just a description, but it's the very essence of being, the very promise of who he is, results in the promise of what he does. God will always act in line with his own perfect justice and covenantal love, and he cannot do otherwise. So as we dive into chapter 7 here, moving into adjectives, I think it's important to see how they really can carry a lot of theological weight and significance. It's not just something that classifies or describes or modifies, but oftentimes can give us insight into the very essence of our Creator. And the God is holy, God is righteous. These are all adjectives, and you in those cases using a predicate position. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And chapter 7 is dealing with adjectives. Now, here's the fantastic thing for you. Really, you're not really learning much new. This is a pretty short chapter. It's only a few pages. If you did read it, you kind of got through probably relatively quick, although there's a couple of sections. I think the wording might be could have been maybe a little better. At least for me, because I'm a slow learner. I am. That's a fact. Um, but it's a relatively short chapter because you're really taking what you've already learned, especially as it deals with pluralization or what are you talking about? Number and gender and definiteness, and you're applying it to adjectives. And then you're going to look, and we're going to look at how they function. So in all cases, we're looking at form, what it looks like, and then function, what it does. And that's what we're doing here as well. So I'm going to share my screen and begin the PowerPoint. Any thoughts or questions? You guys want to add anything to what we've said so far? While I figure this out, where's my share screen? Hmm.
On Friday, I went to this lectureship in somewhere north here about an hour, and the brother was mentioning when the cherubims were worshiping God, and they were saying Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. That's an adjective, right? Holy, holy, holy.
Yes, that is exactly right. Yeah, Kadosh,
Kadosh,
Kadosh.
Kadosh,
And there's a
Adonai.
verse, holy, holy, holy is the Lord our God.
Yeah.
And it's I'd have to look, I don't remember. There's a substantival use, holy, 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 an adjectival use, holy God, and a predicate use, God is holy. And that's what we're going to look at today. Yeah.
All right.
If I remember well, there was a priest called Zadok, right? I don't know how do you pronounce it in English, if it is the same.
Yeah, I don't, I wish my Old Testament was stronger, but I think you're right. I don't remember. Now, I have to look to see if it was the same. Sadiq is the word for righteous, or Sadak, and obviously it's using a similar root, in the consonantal forms, but whether I'd have to really look to see what the relationship between the noun righteousness and his name, if that was something intentional or not, I don't really know. Let me find out how to share my video because I don't see it for some reason right now. Give me a second here. Participants, chat, react, raise hand, stop, share. And I got my little thing here, and I should be able to do share screen. Oh, there it is, share screen. Okay. So share, I should be able to pick the screen. There we go. And share. So now you should be seeing, I hope, let me move this out of my way so I can see everything. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're going to follow like I try to do normally, is go both use the book and this PowerPoint. If I haven't mentioned before, I do want to mention the PowerPoints do come from the book and from the authors. I modify some of them, but some of them I basically use as is. And so that is from Pratico and Van Pelt, Basics of Biblical Hebrew. Okay, so we're talking about adjectives. All right, so as it's up here, kind of hard to, I'm not at home, I'm in my daughter's home and in the kitchen. And so it's not as structured in the way I normally would. All right, I think I got it. So we're going to talk about the basics on Hebrew adjectives today. Hebrew adjectives functions like the in English, and I would think the same. I'm pretty sure the same is in Spanish, and probably the same. Frank Mohammed and Patrick is the native tongue. Well, I know the national tongue in Ghana is English, but I don't know how. I think the native tongue is Key. Did I say that right? Well, I must be right.
There are more.
Yeah.
In fact, there are more than 50 native languages in Ghana.
Are they dialects of the same language or multiple different languages?
Took Lou from having a budget that said he was going to. It's multiple different languages.
Okay, wow. All right.
But Chi is the most famous. That is why a lot of
most
people
common.
think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that kind of makes it hard to speak or to learn. I guess that's why English is sort of the national language across all the different tongues there. I don't know. But
Yeah, that's
here's
true.
the point, though. Adjectives probably function the same in Chi, and other languages. They're used really to give us modify the noun they're modifying to describe it. You know, the green dress, the purple book, or characterize it. You know, it's that blue book, or to classify the nouns in various categories. The Hebrew adjective is Hebrew, of course, is an inflected language, just like Greek. Greek is a very strongly inflected language. Spanish is a strongly inflected language. Inflection, if it's not, English is not a very strongly inflected language. We have inflection for going from singular to plural, right? Man to men is a form of inflection where we change the spelling, but generally speaking, we say book versus books. That's an inflection by changing the spelling, the form, and basically you've changed the not the meaning, but it's number, singular or plural. So Hebrew adjectives inflect in order to indicate three things, right? Or two things, gender and number. And whether it be masculine, singular and plural, or feminine, singular and plural. But they also will include well, we'll get to that. Let me get there later. I'm talking about definiteness. The endings for Hebrew adjectives are really the same as you already learned for Hebrew nouns. So you're not learning anything new. We're using the exact same endings here. For example, a masculine this is the adjective tov. Anybody know what tov means by chance? Possibly.
Good.
Good. Very right. Very good. Very good. Very tov. Very tov of you, brother. Means good. And so tov is this is a monosyllabic word, right? One syllable, tov. It's endingless in the masculine singular form, right? There's no ending. To apply it to a feminine form, we add the comments hey. If you remember back on page was it page 9? Yes, page 9. Well, no, that's not what I was looking for. No. I was looking for all the different feminine endings for singular. What page is that on? I thought
Comments hey is on 10, but not for, it might not be what you're looking for.
yeah, I don't know. I thought so. That's the different
You remember sometimes it's at, sometimes it's at.
yeah, those
So-
are the different vowel letters, which is not the same thing. I mean, these are vowel letters. What'd you say, brother? Yeah, where the comments hey, and okay, it's on page 27. There we go. Summary 4.4. Where you have the ending list for singular, right? The masculine noun in singular is going to have no ending to it. It's just the consonantal form with any associated vowels. The feminine nouns will have an ending, and you see it's typically the comments hey, but it can be the potic tav, the sigol tav, the hirik tav, and the shurik tav. And so I just want to point back to there. That's nothing new. And so when we go back to our article or PowerPoint here, so the comments hey is the typical feminine ending. We might still have the tav with the potic or the sigol or the hirik yod or with the shurik attached to it. All those are feminine singular endings. In the plural, of course, our masculine form is typically the hirik yod, that is a vowel letter, hirik yod, final mem. And so we get tovim versus tova. So we got tov, tova, tovim. And then the feminine plural form is what we would typically find as the whole vav, tav ending, right? So you get tovot. And that's our basic inflection for adjectives. It's the same inflection we did for nouns, so it's nothing new. We're just applying it now to adjectives. Any questions so far? That makes sense to everybody? We're okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Now, let me see if I want to bring anything else out here. I was thinking about a couple things and trying to sort of set us up. When we think about, all right, let's move forward. All right. All right. Now what we're gonna do is this is our form, okay? This is our basic form, our basic inflection form for adjectives. It's the same as we learned for Hebrew or for nouns, right? Now we're gonna see what happens when you lengthen the word. Now, you remember what I think I reiterate this over and over again because it's so important. Consonantal root form, root position 1, consonantal root position 2, consonantal root position 3. So 1, 2, 3, that's the typical Hebraic consonantal form, the letters, right? The consonants. And of course, we insert vowels around them, in them, above them, that kind of thing. And we also do put things before it, right? We've already learned that we put it's a prefix, a comments, or the potic hey for the definite article. That would be before it. We also know that we can put the vav before it. So those can all prefix. We know we could prefix certain prepositions, right? So all those can prefix, but we can put suffixes too, just like we do in English. We could put a suffix in a word and change the word or change its pluralization. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change here the number, right? Make it plural, or the gender and make it feminine, or both, right? Kind of thing. And that's all we're doing. Now, when we do that, here's what happens. When we make a change to the length of the word, sometimes these vowels will want to change. And we've learned the basic rules, and we're just going to apply those rules. And I kind of hesitate a little bit in trying to go back through all these rules kind of things, because it's not about learning the rules so much, but they do give you an understanding of what's happening. And you look and go, why is that this and why is that that? And so to help understand it, you've got to see kind of what's happening with the rules. So clean that up a bit. All right, so when some adjectives lengthen, like here, we've added the masculine plural, hierarchical final mem, or here we've added the feminine plural, to, the final, or the vowel letter, yod vav, with the to, or here we've added a feminine singular form with the kamates hey. Sometimes when a vowel or letter word lengthens, it will change the spelling of the word. In these cases, there are a lot of words that don't change the spelling, mostly monosyllabic words, one syllable. You add another syllable to it, and so what do we get? We get basically 2 syllables. So we become, this is where the accent was here because it's a monosyllabic word. Now the accent is here at the end, and so this becomes the tonic, and this becomes the pretonic, right? And pretonics typically like a long vowel. For open, pretonic typically like a long vowel. Unaccented. Unaccented pretonic typically likes a long vowel, and that's what it's got. Same thing over here. Basically, you have a bisyllable, 2 syllables, syllable number 1, syllable number 2, and then same thing here. And so everything stays the same. Nothing really changes. As a result of that, the same thing when we're looking at the word sadiq, being righteous, tov is good, righteous or just. And so we have a bisyllable, first syllable, second syllable, sadiq. And when you lengthen it by making it feminine, it doesn't really change. And why doesn't it change? This is important. What is that right there, guys?
Lene?
No, what is, I'm going to circle it again. What is this? What is this? What is this?
The doggish, is it?
It's a doggish. What kind though? Lene or forte?
Well, it's after doggish, Lene, well,
So,
I don't know.
and if it's a cough, then it's a Linné, isn't it?
Well, that's a dalit.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing then. Whoopsies.
No problem.
It's after the patat, so
But it's a good fat, I think.
Remember the rule, if it follows, if a short vowel or a vowel precedes it, it's a forte.
okay.
Okay.
Mm.
So that is a forte. What does a forte do? It doubles it, right? So when we talk about syllabification, dividing it, don't forget that there is a dalit right here. And so you basically have a closed syllable, right? You have this ayin, potic, with the dalet, and then you have another dalet, which is the original dalet, right? And this is a closed syllable. And because it's a closed syllable, it is closed, unaccented, and it prefers a short vowel. It doesn't change. That's why it doesn't change. That's the only point I'm trying to make out. There's a reason these didn't change. This is monosyllabic. This is biconsonantal, two consonants, but it has this dogged forte here, which changes. Really, it makes it right. When you really look at it, it makes it what? This. Not two syllables. No, it's still two syllables. Yeah. Okay. So it's still two syllables. That's right. But ultimately, because this is a closed syllable, it's closed because it closes with a consonant. And as a result, this doesn't change. I'm just trying to show why it doesn't change. Okay, that's all. So there are a lot of words that won't change, generally won't change, and monosyllabics won't change the spelling, especially if there's a vowel letter. Vowel letters are called unchangeable. They don't change. If you have a Herrick Yod or a Holem Bob, those are unchangeable vowels. So they won't change. But vowels like, let me clear this. Vowels like a comates can change. What does it normally change to? Anybody know?
Or a patak?
Comates, huh?
Or a patak.
Apodic, yeah. It would normally change to apodic, right? It's an A-class vowel. So if you remember your little chart, you've got your A-class vowels. You have the long, which is the comates, the short, which is the apodic, and then you have the reduced, which is the apodic, hatapodic. And that's normally the change that it will go through, or reduced to maybe even a shavah, but that's not really a vowel. All right, so there's no change in the spelling on some adjectives, and there's reasons for that, okay? But other adjectives, remember, all we're doing is we're going to lengthen the word, the adjective, to make it either feminine or to represent feminine, or to make it plural, singular, or plural feminine. And the reason it's doing that is because what has to happen is this adjective with the noun it's modifying, whatever noun it's modifying, has to agree in number, singular, plural, or gender, masculine or feminine. It has to agree. So whatever number the noun is, to make it attributive, whatever number the noun is, whatever gender the noun is, the adjective has to be the same. And so the adjective has to be flexible. And so the adjective sadiq can be a masculine plural, a masculine singular, a feminine singular, or a feminine plural, because it has to agree with whatever word it's modifying. Okay, that was probably way too much and too confusing, but I'm sorry about that. Any questions so far? So there's some nouns that just don't change their spelling when you lengthen it. Okay, like here, we lengthened it, it didn't change. We lengthened it, it didn't change. We lengthened it, it didn't change. It's still tov, didn't change. Sadak, sadika, didn't change. Sadikot, didn't change. It's still sadiq. It's still sadiq. None of that's changed. So that's all that's trying to point out. Okay. All right. Now, come on. Okay, yeah, there we go. Now, you've already had propionic reduction before. You've already seen it. So this is going to help kind of strengthen or build. But sometimes when you lengthen a word, then you'll get a reduction in the first syllable. It's called propionic reduction. Why is it propionic? Well, here's our slavification. This is syllable 1 and syllable 2. And when I lengthen it in order to make it feminine, where I'm adding the comates hey, now basically there's my vocal shavah. And then I have the toe. So this is one syllable, two syllables, and now we lengthen it with the comates hey, and now I added a syllable to it. And so it lengthens. And when you do that, this is called the tonic, right? This is now where the accent is. It was right here. This is where the accent is over here, right here. This is the tonic. This is the pre-tonic, right? Pre before. And this is the pro-pre-tonic. And what happens when the pro-pre-tonic, it doesn't like a long vowel. It wants a short vowel. And so it will reduce to a shava, or if there's a guttural, a potic, a hatapotic, or potic vowel. And that's all that's really happening. You had this rule before. Go to page 39 in your book if you have it available. I know some of you have the electronic version that I put out there. But on page 39, we went over this. I think it's 39. I hope I got that right. No, it's not 39. Where's that? Hold on a second. Let me find it. I went through it earlier. It's in page 30, excuse me, not 39. Page 30, number 2 there, pluralization with pre-tonic reduction. That's exactly what it says. What we just went through. 2-syllable nouns that are accented on the final syllable, right? We're gonna illustrate it. 2-syllable nouns that are accented on the final syllable. That's what that is, right? 2 syllables accented here on the final syllable. Have a changeable long vowel. Okay, comates is a changeable long vowel. It can change, it can reduce. Has a changeable long vowel in the first or pre-tonic syllable, right? So the first would be a monosyllabic, but here is the first, or well, the first is here. It's pre-tonic. So it has a changeable long vowel in the first or pre-tonic, mostly a comates or a serre. That's the E vowel, the serre. This is the A long. This is the E vowel types, the serre long, right? Short. And I believe it's just a goal for, if I remember right, I'm going to memory, so I could be wrong. When you add the addition of the plural endings, or even the feminine singular, the plural or the plural, when you add the addition of the plural endings with changeable long vowels, that's the comates, in an open propytonic syllable, propytonic syllable, the changeable long vowels were reduced to a shava. So we already had this back in chapter 4, and now we're just applying it. Now, I realize we've already had it, and really, you haven't really locked it in yet. But all we're talking about is, I want to clear this so it's not so ugly. All we're talking about is here's our word. It is an adjective, sadiq, meaning righteous. And it has to agree with whatever noun it's going to modify. If it's going to modify a plural masculine noun, it has to add the hierarch yod final mem to it. If it's going to agree with a feminine word, the righteous woman, then it has to add a singular feminine ending to it. So can it agree with it? If it's going to end with a plural feminine word, Torah, which is feminine, or the Torah, then basically it's going to need a plural feminine ending. I think Torah plural would be Torot. So it would need the same plural ending. That's all it's doing. But what happens is just showing you that there are some changes that occur because you've lengthened that, and this now has become a propytonic in every single case. It's pre-tonic. That's all that's doing, guys. Don't let it throw you out. You got the same word. You've lengthened because you made it agree in gender and number. And as a result, there's going to be some changes because they want to put the accent at the end. And so the accent's at the end, which is going to reduce the pronunciation of the accent at the beginning. That's all it's doing. That help? We okay? All right. Same thing with the word wise. hakam. And again, we have, you notice, a two-syllable word. We're going to lengthen the word, and that when we lengthen it, we get basically a three-syllable word. And this becomes the pro-pretonic. As a result, it's going to reduce. Now, in this case, it's going to, because it's going to reduce to a hataval and hatashava, because it can't become a shava, because that's a guttural. So as a result, it's a hatav shava. That's all that's happened. You've already seen that before. You've already seen, you know, gutturals can't take a shava, but they'll take a hatav shava or shava vowel, and so that's nothing new. Any questions on propretonic reduction? Again, it's just the adjective, because you've lengthened it. You're going to change some of the vowels sort of in order to maintain the accent at the end. You don't want to make it the accent in the beginning. So you reduce the pronunciation in the beginning. That's all it's doing.
Okay.
Okay?
Hakam is wise, you said?
Hakam is wise, yeah.
And what is gadol?
Gadol's big or large.
Great.
Grande.
I was
Great.
It's grande.
Okay, I'm just writing them down here so I can memorize
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. No, that's fine. Excuse me, my allergies are killing me. All right. So adjectives can change its vowel pronunciation, its form, really, it's the way it looks, but the function, and because of propretonic reduction, but it also can change with the segol hey ending. And this is important. There are some words, if you remember, this little hey looks like a feminine ending, or a feminine ending. Well, that is actually, it's not a feminine ending. It is actually the word. And so you have one, two, three consonants. So that's actually the three consonantal form. 1, 2, 3 with a cough, with a shim, and hey. And I think Damien has mentioned, I've mentioned before, hay is pretty weak. It will drop off a lot. And in this case, it is a segol, but it's not a segol hay. It's a hay with a segol preceding it. And ultimately, the hay will drop off when I extend it to make it plural, or to make it feminine, or to make it feminine plural. Feminine singular versus feminine plural. So we have the same word, but the hay is dropped when we extended the word. And so that can make it confusing, because when you look up the word, you cannot find that word in the lexical form. You don't know what that is. You have to know, oh, something's not there. There should be a third consonant. Now, there are some words that are just two consonants, but generally speaking, most are three consonants. What would be the third? Well, my first choice would be a hay, because a hay is weak and it falls off a lot. And so this hay, segol hay, will drop off, and it's replaced, in this case, it's actually replaced with another hay. It's not the same hay. I know that sounds weird, okay? It's replaced with a kamates hay. That makes the feminine ending. Or it's replaced with the hierarch yod mem, which is the masculine plural ending, or it's replaced with the holem tav, to make it the feminine plural ending. And that's, so it's just pointing out that there is words with a segol hey ending, and ultimately, and that word kasher, I'm trying to remember what it means now. It's in our book, so we'll just look it up. Oh, I'm in the wrong chapter. No wonder. Okay.
It is
Right?
difficult. It translates difficult.
Difficult. Yes, that's right. Thank you very much. Difficult. So this is difficult in both figuratively and literally. Not really difficult. It's just letting you know that in this case, the word difficult actually ends in a segol hey. And when you make it feminine, you're going to drop that segol hey. you're going to add a comates hey, and they look very similar, but they're not. When you make it a masculine plural, you're going to drop that Segol hey, and you're going to add the hierarchion final mem. If you want to make it feminine plural, you're going to drop the Segol hey and make it the Holombav Tav ending. So that's all that's doing to that. And so they kind of identify that for you so you can see it. That's on page 58, number 3. And you have the, we actually went on that rule on page 9 of the book. So we're just basically taking things that we've already learned, or maybe not learned, but have gone over, and applying it on page 9. Yeah, we have a E-class vowel, the 2.8, the Segol hey, and it's just a vowel letter, and that vowel letter drops out. Yeah, that's all it's doing. What I think the reason they mention it more than anything else is because when you try to look this word up, what does it mean? Well, you have to look at, when you try to look this word up, what does it mean? You have to look up this word. Okay. Now here it may not be so bad because you'll look up the cough, the shim, and the hay. Well, that's the same as there. But here you won't necessarily know that the hay was there. Here you won't necessarily know that the hay was there. But I will tell you, hey is almost always at the end of it. When it's almost always at the end of the word, anytime you do anything to that word, the hey will drop. Almost always. So that is very common. It's very common for that to drop out. So if it has an ending like the comates hey, you pretty much know it's a feminine ending, generally speaking. So, all right, does that make sense, guys? You okay? Did I confuse everybody? All right, so we're talking about form now, still, just kind of what it looks like. We hadn't got to how it functions, but we're almost there. So we're talking about a geminate. Now, a geminate is from the Latin Gemini, right? You guys remember that. And most words are 3 consonantal forms. 1, 2, 3. Geminates are 2, but really they're 3 because the third is basically, for simplicity, dropped out, but it was there originally. So what happens is when you lengthen this word to make it masculine plural or feminine singular or feminine plural, that third one comes back in the form of the doggish forte. And it comes back right here, okay? And so that's what that doggish is right there. Because it originally had 3 and 3 consonant forms. And so it originally was Rav. That's bad, Rav. That would be the original form. To simplify it, they went to Rav. And when you lengthen it to make it feminine or plural or masculine or feminine, then basically that third one comes back in the form of the doggish forte. That's all that's happening. And so what's happening here? Same thing. It's the exact same thing. This is a geminate. So at one time, let me see. At one time, there was another ion there. The resh ion, right? And you lengthen it in order to put the masculine plural or the feminine singular or feminine plural. And this goes to a comates. Where's the doggish? What happened to the doggish? Why is it not there? Here's your clue. It really is there. Okay, in a different form. What form?
It is in the compensatory lengthening.
Compensatory lengthening, that's exactly right, right? It can't go in here because this is a guttural. You cannot put any doggish in a guttural. So to compensate for that, they lengthen this product here. They lengthen that to the comates because it wants the guttural and it can't put it there. So it compensates for that. That's all that's happening. All right. Very good. Silence is almost golden. It's more like silver. All right, now that's the form. Okay, so really, adjectives are our typical same 3 consonantal forms, sometimes by, and we're going to apply, because we want the adjective to agree with the noun it's modifying, we're going to make sure that it's able to have pluralization and agree in masculine plural and masculine singular. We're going to make sure it can agree in feminine singular and feminine plural. So you basically inflect the noun. You change the ending to it so that it can agree with the noun it's modifying. That's all we did. Everybody okay with that? I know you Spanish guys are okay because you do that all the time in your language. English, we don't make those kind of modifications on a regular basis. We do, but it's just a much smaller form. We make something plural, book to books, man to men, child to children. That is the same inflection. To go from to change the number, but we don't change like the gender by inflecting. Man and woman won't change. It's not an inflectional change. So we don't, it's not a very strong inflectional language in English, but Spanish is, and Hebrew is, as well as Greek especially, very strong. I don't know about Chi, guys. What is the language, the dominant language there in Ghana, the Ghanaian? Is it inflected in form typically? You change the ending, the spelling, in order to reflect the gender, masculine, feminine, or number, singular, plural?
They didn't hear you.
Hello.
All right, we'll move on.
Yeah, it does. It's inflected. Most singular words don't change much when it turns into a plural word.
Okay, so she is not a highly inflected language. Is that what you're saying, Patrick?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. So similar to English then, which I guess might make sense if English is the national language. I don't know. So all we do is talk about the form, right? An adjective, what it does, it can modify, classify, describe, and the noun it's modifying. And we talked about what it looks like when it does that. Okay, and that's it. And you haven't really learned much of anything new. You just applied it to adjectives. So it actually should help strengthen what you've already seen or learned. Now we're going to talk about its function. What we talked about when it's modifying or really describing is attributive use. And we do that all the time. A good man, a good person, a good book, a bad book, an evil man, whatever the case may be. It's attributing something to the noun it's modifying. It's giving us information about that would help classify it, right? The blue book, well, my book is red, so it must not be the one you're talking about. So it helps to differentiate or to classify the noun from other usage or other nouns. But in order to do that, it has to agree in three forms. It has to agree in its number. What's the number? Singular or plural or dual. It has to agree in number. It has to agree in gender, masculine or feminine. We don't have woke genders in Hebrew. Masculine or feminine. And it has to agree in definiteness. In other words, they both have to be either indefinite, a book, a good book, or definite, the good book. So they both have to agree in gender, number, and definiteness, all three, and they must agree. And that's how you know. Now, the other thing you'll know is that generally, I don't know that always, but I think it probably might be, generally is the adjective follows the noun it's modifying. Here's the noun. The adjective generally follows it. I say generally because I'm not positive it's always, but I'm not aware of it coming prior to for attributive function, for the attributive function. So here we have ish and tov. Ish tov. What does that mean? Somebody want to tell me what that means?
Is there a good man?
Yeah, a good man, or just good man, right? The indefiniteness in English may or may not have the indefinite article a. A lot of languages don't have this indefinite article. Good man or a good man. And you see, if you look at it, ish is a masculine, right? It means man, it's masculine. And tov is masculine because it's endingless. Ish is a singular here. It's singular. There's not. It's not
Plural.
Anisha, I think is the word for a plural men. And tov is singular. So, and neither one are definite. They're both indefinite. They don't have the article. All right. So ultimately, they agree in number, singular. In this case, it's singular. They agree in number. In this case, it's, excuse me, number. And they agree in gender. In this case, all right, okay, I forgot. I'm using a different system. They agree in number, singular or plural. They agree in gender, masculine or feminine, and they agree in definiteness. In this case, it's indefinite. I want to say a definite because I'm writing a, but it's indefinite. So they agree in all three forms, and that makes it attributive. The fact that they agree in all three forms makes it attributive. That makes sense? That's how you know it's attributive. That's how you know it's modifying the noun in an attributive way. It's attributing something to it, so it's a good man. And the same thing here. Now it agrees in definiteness. There's our article. We have the compensatory lengthening because the dogish of our article is not able to go into the aleph because the aleph's a guttural. So that is a compensatory lengthening. And so we get ha'ish, hatov. They're both singular, they're both masculine, and now they're both definite. So it's the good man. And that's how you know it's attributing something. That's how you know it's not the man is good, but it is the good man. Same thing here. A good woman. This is both feminine. Here's our feminine form, right? We see our feminine ending, the kametz hey. We have to put the kametz hey on the tov in order for it to agree. And so we get isha, tova.
Tova.
A good woman. They agree in number. They're both singular. They agree in gender. They're both feminine. They agree in definiteness. They're both indefinite. They do not have the article. Same thing with the good woman. They both agree. There's our article, definite article. Here's our definite article. In this case, it has the dogish forte because the tet is not a guttural, so we could put the dogish forte in. All right, yeah. So you get right, okay. Ha'isha to hotova, and they agree in definiteness. They're both definite. They agree in feminine. They both have the feminine ending, and they both agree in number. They're both singular. That's our singular ending, right? Remember? And so is the good woman. If you look in the book or in your electronic version of that book on page 59, there you get other examples. You have what we did, a good man or a good man. You have the good man, good woman or good woman, a good woman, the good woman. And then you have the pluralization, same thing, good men. If you look the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one down, hanashim, tovim. Hanashim is plural. It is masculine and indefinite. There is no article. Tovim is plural. It is masculine. I've got the masculine plural ending, the here yod mem, and it is indefinite. There is no article. They agree in all three forms, so it's good men. The next one, hanashim versus hatovim. They agree in all three forms. In this case, they're both have the definite. They're both the articles there in both cases. They're both plural. You got the plural spelling of men with the noon added, but you also have the plural ending with the here yod mem, and you have the plural ending for the masculine form and the here yod mem for tov, and so they agree in all three forms. The good men. Same with woman. Woman, just like men, when you go to plural form, it's irregular. Nashim, point this out in a minute. Nashim, tovot. Well, they're both singular. Now, yes, Nashim, it has the hierik yod final mem, which looks like a masculine plural. But this is that irregular form that we've already looked at for the plural of women, it changes and it uses the masculine plural ending along with adding the new to it, the noon. And so it's an irregular form. Hanashim is a feminine singular form, indefinite. There's no article. Excuse me, plural form. I apologize. The plural form with the hierarch yod mem. And the tovot uses the typical plural form for the feminine with the holem vav tav. Whereas the Nashim woman uses the masculine plural form instead of the feminine. And so if you look at note 1 at the bottom, because you got note 1 there, I always read these notes, guys. They're very important. The plural of Isha is Nashim. This example of irregular pluralization, it tells you where to look back, 4.7.4, section 4, section 474. Even though Nashim takes a masculine plural ending, the noun is still feminine. And so the adjective agrees with the natural gender, feminine plural, and not the grammatical gender, masculine plural. So they're just showing how that it's still in agreement with it. So when it's functioning attributively, clear this up a bit, it will agree in 2 forms, the gender and the number, but it will not agree, excuse me, not attributively, it will agree in all 3 forms, the gender, the number, and the definiteness. So it's either indefinite or it's definite, it's either singular or plural, or it's masculine or feminine. It will agree in all those cases. Does that make sense? Are we okay?
Yes.
All right. Now to make it predicately. Remember, predicately in English, we have the form of to be verb, is, was, will be, that kind of thing, because, or become, that kind of thing. We have this form of to be verb, the is and the was is most common. Hebrew doesn't have an is, it doesn't have an is. It really doesn't have a was. It kind of does when we get to verbs, it's a different thing. But basically, there's the implied form of is or was, and that's why this is in italicized. There's the implied form, and it's done when we use the adjective with the noun it's modifying, except this time it agrees only in 2 forms. It agrees in gender and number, but not in definiteness. There is no definite agreement. So what happens is you got hashi, is that definite or indefinite? Ha'ish, is that definite or indefinite?
Definite.
Definite, right? Because the definite article is there. There's our word, ish, man. So the man, right? Before I do my translation, the man. And tov. Well, is that definite or indefinite, tov?
It's indefinite.
It's indefinite, right? So it does not agree. And that's how you know it's the predicate. So the man is good. And that's how you do that. And that's all you need to know, really. That's all that really occurs. Cleaning it up a bit here. Same thing here. You can change the word order and it doesn't change. There is no definite article here. So it doesn't agree in definite, but it does agree in gender and number. They're both singular, they're both masculine, but not in definiteness. There's our definite, and there isn't one here. So it's still the man is good. Doesn't matter what order you put it in, it doesn't agree.
So in Hebrew, it doesn't matter the order. You can put it either way.
Order, yeah, well, I'll say this much. Order does make a difference to a limited degree. And I think I'm going to speak out of turn because I'm not an expert in this. Generally speaking, I think you'll find this order. But you can find this order and it doesn't change a thing. So yeah, the answer is yeah, doesn't matter the order. How you determine whether it's functioning predicate is whether or not if it agrees in gender, number, but not in definiteness. That's how you determine, not the order.
I was reading where the predicate is the order doesn't matter, but with the adjective it does. When it has attribution, but with the other doesn't matter.
When it's attributive, the adjective will follow the noun. It comes afterwards. When a predicate, it may or may not follow the noun. And it doesn't really matter. What you know is it doesn't agree in definiteness. It agrees everywhere else in gender and number, but not in definiteness. Okay, that's all it's doing. Same with here's the woman. Same thing. Here's our ha isha. There's our woman. And you got tova. You see it agrees in gender. It agrees in gender. It agrees in singular form. This is the singular form. That's the singular form, right? If it was plural, it would be tov for the feminine form. But it does not agree in definiteness. So there's no definite article here. Yeah, but there is here. Same thing over here, exact same thing. There's a definite article, none there. So it is the woman is good and not the good woman. That help? You guys okay with this? This is very much the same thing in Greek, and I think probably I would guess I don't really know enough Spanish to say. I would say because there's a lot of similarities in inflected languages, probably something similar, but I don't really know. Yeah. Okay, so what it looks like, inflection, right? You can have endingless, make it feminine singular, make it plural masculine or plural feminine. Changes because of lengthening of it, and then how it functions, attributively or predicately. Predicately is the man is good. That's our predicate. The verb and anything else that associated with that verb that follows. Attributively or predicately, and then substantively as a substantively would mean as a noun. So an adjective can function as a noun. There's a movie with old Clint Eastwood called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I don't know if you've seen that in Ghana, if it, what the wording would be, or in Spanish. But the good, the bad, and the ugly, those are all adjectives. Good is an adjective, bad is an adjective, and ugly is an adjective. They all describe or modify other words. The good book, the bad book, the ugly book. But when there's no noun to modify, when there's nothing to modify, then it's most likely that noun is functioning, or that adjective is functioning as a noun in a substantive use. Substantive could mean the subject, could mean the object, or the direct object. Substantive just means it's been functioning as a noun in some form. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here is the preposition between, bane, and we're going to say bane tov. Here, ubain, the shurik, ra.
Good afternoon.
My name is Letitia, calling from OCV. Trying to internet Patrick Abbey.
Somebody might
Yes,
want to mute.
please.
Patrick, is that
Please,
you?
this is a good time to talk.
Okay, thank you. All right, so bane is our preposition, and there's bane again, except this time it has the shurik, the u, right, and which means and. All right, and notice that bane tov ubain ra is between good and between evil. So there's no noun for ra or tov to modify. The only other word are these prepositions. And now these actually function as an object of the preposition, where the object of a preposition is a noun. So it is functioning substantively. So between good and between evil, normally we take that out and we say between good and evil, just for smoother English reading. Okay, so it can function substantively. How do you know it's functioning substantively? There's no noun. There's nothing to modify. There's no predicate function. There's nothing. If it's predicate, it's functioning, it's modifying a noun, but in a predicate way. Predicate means it's asserting something about it. God is good. It's asserting something about a quality. It's attributing something to, not attributing, it's qualitatively asserting something about God. God is good. Adjectival uses would be asserting something about it. Good God, a good book, a blue book. It's describing it, whereas predicately is giving an assertion about the quality of it, generally speaking. So between good and evil, because good and evil are adjectives, that is an adjective, and there's no noun to modify. Instead, it functions as the object of the preposition. And there's our and, by the way. So, okay, here's our or adjective,
If-
upright. And it's functioning with the one. Here is the one who is upright. So it's predicately, but upright is functioning as a substantive. No, I think I got that right. Let me see what the book says about that. I don't want to mistake that. Do I have that even in the book? Those are both adjectives. Yashar and Eem, I believe, are both adjectives. Let's see if they're in our vocabulary. What time is it, by the way? Okay, I got a few more minutes. We're good. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have it. Raw is evil. Raw is evil. Tov is good. Might look up Eem or Yashar.
Yashar is upright.
Upright. Okay, Yashar's upright.
Mhm.
And Eem,
Is it with or what?
I'm sorry.
With? Who?
Maybe
Oh,
it's
okay.
the one or who, probably.
Double check that. I think that sounds right, but let me look at something real quick. Eem, the final mem, final mem, final mem. Okay, Eem, the preposition Eem together with or with. That's right. So, and what they're showing here. So clear this. So that means with or together with. That means upright. And notice that it has an article and this does not. And hence, this is the preposition with or together with. And so with the one who is upright, and so it's the one who is upright, that is functioning as a substantive, and the one who is with the one and is upright because the article is the one. And so we got to apply a lot of helping words here. All right, I'm sure I confused everybody. That's my job. We let Andres and Damien fix it for us later. Any questions? All right, so now we saw how it looks, the form, right? It's gonna be like be like the noun. It's going to be an adjective is going to be endingless. It's going to be masculine, feminine. It's going to be plural, just like the noun. And then we talk about how it functions in three ways: attributively, predicately, or substantively. Attributively, it's going to agree in all three forms: definiteness, number, and gender. In predicately, it will agree in two of the three. That is, it agree in number and gender, but not in definiteness. In substantival, there's nothing for it to agree with. Okay, that's how you really know. And ultimately, the next piece in the chapter, I really struggled with why they put it here because I kind of felt like it just created confusion. So if you look on page 60, we're going to the end. Now notice they mentioned the lexical form is always the masculine singular on 7.6, but I think you already knew that. The next piece really deals with what's called a directional ending. Normally, our directional ending would be, can't remember if it's this, to or towards, right?
Yeah.
Et. And that would be our preposition for directional ending that we would apply with the makif to it, right? The makif here. But you can do directional a different way, and that's what they're bringing out. You can do what's called a directional ending comates hey. And that can really seem confusing because what else do we see at comates hey? That is our feminine ending. And so that can make it confusing. But oftentimes, and I made a lot of notes here with this to help me understand. One of the things, though, here is that a major clue is that if the noun is inherently feminine, then the first sense would be the comates hey is a feminine ending. But if the noun is normally not feminine, it's masculine then, okay. Uh, and there's a verb, which we hadn't got the verbs yet, that are associated with motion, like go, send, bring. Uh, 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 I wrote them down. Return, walk, run. If the verb associated with the context, the syntax, is associated with motion, then it's very likely that that comates hey is not functioning femininely, but functioning directionally to or toward land, to or toward the house, by it, the house. And so that's not necessarily feminine, and context will help you figure that out. That in fact, that comates hey may not be the feminine ending. Now, in most cases, it's going to be. All right, but occasionally you're going to like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. It's just not working. Well, let's not, you might want to try to remember that the comates hey sometimes, especially if there was a verb form, which we hadn't got to yet, that is associated with some motion, movement, uh, 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 send, bring, walk, run, all those kind of movements. Go towards the house, run to the house, walk to the house, to the land, toward the land. Generally speaking, there's going to be a verb associated that has some kind of directional function to it. And basically, what happens instead of using the preposition, they put a directional ending to it, and that's the comates hey. And they knew it was a directional ending because it was associated with a verb of motion. And they knew it wasn't functioning femininely, generally speaking, because it was not a feminine word, not necessarily true in all cases. The city is a feminine word, but city is a feminine word. Let's see. There's our feminine word, endingless. It's feminine. It happens to be one of those, and we learned that already. You may not remember it. That is a feminine word. And if you add a comates hey to it, that is not the feminine ending because it's already a feminine word. Instead, it is a directional ending to, in this case, the city. If that wasn't there, it'd be to or toward a city. Okay. So they wanted to bring out this directional ending with the comates hey, mostly feminine, but in some instances, it's basically directional, replaces the preposition. That's all it's doing. How to recognize it? It have to be context. Once you start looking at the sentence and you say, wait a minute, I don't understand this word. It's a masculine word, but it's got a feminine ending. Is something irregular? And you go, oh, wait a minute, it's going to the land. Okay, that makes more sense because that took the place of that. So that took the place of that. Yeah, make sure it did. All right, that's all that's happening. Does that help? Okay. And really one of the shorter chapters because you're not really adding a whole bunch of new stuff. You're just applying it. And you're applying it. You learned nouns, how to make them. They were endingless for masculine singular. They had the comates hey or one of the tav endings for feminine singular. They have the hierarch yod final mem for the singular or the plural masculine, and typically the tov, the holem vav tov for the feminine plural ending. And you already know that. And all we did is apply that to these adjectives. And once you sort of see how it's applied, Now it's how does it function? Well, it's going to function in one of three ways. Attributively, it's going to give you limit that noun. The art adjective always limits it or describes it in some way, or it's going to make it predicately function, and that if it's limiting or attributively functioning, it's going to agree in all three forms: number, gender, and definiteness. If it's predicately, in other words, it's asserting something about it, generally a quality of it. You know, God is good, and it is a good house. Then it's not going to agree in definite, but it will agree in number and gender, or substantively, and then there's nothing to agree with. And then we have the directional ending that will be substitute the preposition for that, you know, it's used for to kind of thing. And normally typically you'll have a verb of motion associated in that context. That's it, guys. Any questions? What I love about this is once you learn the basics, you just keep applying it over and over again. So yes, you may feel like I don't really understand this when you get the basic, but as you apply it over and over again, that becomes a lot easier to understand and recognize because you've done it multiple times. So the more we do it, the more it becomes recognizable and easier to understand and apply, kind of thing. So I kind of like the way this is structured because it helps us to see that. And as we move further, we keep doing the same thing. So hopefully it becomes a little more less confusing. It may still not be embedded in the heart and mind, but it should be recognizable and become like familiar, let's say. All right. Any questions?
That's good.
Mm.
Great job, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure as you do the homework. Oh, by the way, homework, I have been negligent on homework. And normally what I try to do is put it in the LMS flip class, is put homework and there's a little textual note of what the homework is. And I did put that in for this section. And I don't have it in front of me. I'm pretty sure it was all of section 1, which is very short, all of section 2, which was like 10. And that's pretty easy, short stuff. And then it's selected, like, you know, do the first two, or I think the next one do the odd numbers, and then do the even numbers, and then do number 1 and 2, and then number 2, 3, and 4. That's in the LMS flip class. I'll try to remember to make sure I put that there. It's not my intent for you to do all the homework on all the chapters. I didn't want to put that much of a load. Although if you're able, that just makes it embedded better. The more you do, the more you grasp. Easier it is to grasp over time. So I didn't want to overload you though. So take a look at the flip class LMS, and that should have. And I normally put it in the week it's due. So we have our class and introduce chapter 7 today. Homework should be done before you go to class on Friday morning. That way you can ask questions to Andres and Damien. That's the intent. And then the quiz would be due anytime after the Friday. If you do it early, that's fine too. Anytime after Friday, that way you've had time to do homework, you've had time to ask questions with Andres and Damien. And then anytime before that next Tuesday class is when the quiz is due. So hopefully it's clear as mud and we're all on the same page. And the guys in Ghana, Patrick, and anyone else, like I said, books have been shipped. To the best of my knowledge, I was told they were shipped. I don't have a delivery date. I thought they'd be there last week, but I am trying to reach them to find out where the books are. In the meantime, I have loaded chapter 7 and chapter 8 in the LMS resource tab. So hopefully you can find everything there. Again, though, those are not for distribution. I've marked it as such. Those are copyrighted pages, so I don't like doing that. But we have ordered the book, so I have paid for it, so I don't feel guilty about it. But I don't like to put it out there for any other use. But I have paid for the book, and so I feel it's reasonably okay, and not necessarily good. So it's there. All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother
Thank you,
Lee.
brother.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all next
Appreciate
week.
your work,
If you have
brother.
questions,
Thank you.
just give me a
Appreciate
holler.
it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Stop share. And Stop.